Uganda Revenue Authority has once again been ordered to compensate Ericsson Uganda 10.71 billion Uganda shillings, which were wrongfully deducted from their accounts without due process. You are guys. Ngamwagala sente. Let me give you guys the tea. First things first, Ericsson is a Swedish telecommunications giant, one of the largest in the world. They deal in communications infrastructure, such as the building towers, running the networks, and so on. So you're not gonna find them like MTN or Airtel or your Ketu Telcom, but trust me, everything MTN, Airtel, and all those guys are using is provided and maintained by Ericsson. Anyways, now, 6 years ago, you can tell me when that was. That's how long this case has lasted. The Uganda Revenue Authority carried out an audit on the financials of Ericsson between 2013 to 2017. Let me tell you guys, things were not adding up. According to them, they found VAT variances between the sales VATs, the ones that were recorded in their books, versus the revenues that were recorded for tax purposes, and they found a variance of 35.53 billion Uganda shillings. Anyways, after assessment, you are said, you Ericsson guys, you've been dozing, you don't know what to do, have your 10.28 billion fine. You're supposed to pay it. Hey, anyways, they told them that 569.5 million Uganda shillings were a fine for income tax not filed. The other 9.71 billion was a fine for the VAT variances that they had found. It included penalties and interest. Let me tell you guys, Ericsson tried to be like, you guys don't understand our accounting principles. We don't operate like MTN and Airtel that we are making money from daily phone calls and all that. Ours is long-term infrastructures, and we account for them using the international accounting standards, and it's recorded as work in progress. AKA, the VAT you may see in the books for this financial year may actually be VAT that is related to an earlier transaction that was done, because we don't recognize our revenues lump sum, however, periodically, progressively as the work gets completed. That's the easiest way I can explain it to you guys. Anyways, URA wasn't having that nonsense. They went on and told the bankers of Ericsson. They sent an issue, a notice or whatever, and told them, you guys, you need to deduct 10.28 billion from Ericsson's account and pay us. They are supposed to pay taxes. What were the bankers supposed to do? Obviously, they deducted the money from Ericsson's account and paid URA. Now, in all this, before they deducted the money, Ericsson had already paid Sijui 3.05 billion Uganda shillings, which is part of the 10.28 billion that URA had asked them. But they paid that so that this case can go to court, to the tax appeal, basically. Because you're supposed to pay a 30%, tax of what they have fined you. Then you go and negotiate and discuss. Now, let me tell you guys what the appeal said. First of all, Ericsson went there, they were still complaining and all those things. They said deducting that 10.2 billion was actually over and above for URA because the case hadn't yet been concluded. It brought them financial constraints, cash flow issues, and they even had to call their bosses in Stockholm, Sweden. But again, Uganda Revenue Authorities, you guys are making us look bad. Now, the tax tribunal agreed on the following. Earlier on, URA had argued that the sales in Ericsson's accounts were actually VAT exclusive, which meant that they had to calculate VAT on those particular sales. However, Ericsson had argued that all these transactions were actually VAT inclusive. The tax tribunal agreed with Ericsson. They actually agreed that all these transactions were VAT inclusive, and because of the nature of work they do, the long-term infrastructure contracts I've told you about, revenue is going to be recognized progressively. However, these transactions already took place earlier on. So there's no physical things that are getting exchanged right now because all this is just for recording purposes. At the same time, the VAT for Ericsson was actually recalculated down to 2.58 billion Uganda shillings only. And for that reason, the tax appeal ordered Uganda Revenue Authority to pay back Ericsson the 10.28 billion they had deducted from their accounts and offset the 2.58 billion that they now had to pay for taxes. So for that reason, URA was supposed to pay Ericsson 7.71 billion Uganda shillings. However, remember Ericsson had paid what? 3 billion to start this whole case. So in total, URA was ordered to pay Ericsson 10.76 billion Uganda shillings plus 2% interest per month from the date of collection until the final payment. Oh my lord. The court also called out the unprofessionalism of URA because they had no authority to go ahead and ask the bankers of Ericsson to give them the 10.28 billion Uganda shillings without due process. What do you guys think about this case? It's taken them 6 years to find some kind of justice. But URA, you guys are money vampires.